How are you? Enzo Dixinzo podcast. This is our next video in our series of Spring 2024 videos. This is part 3, and we're just going to pick up where we left off last time. Okay. So we stopped here at the break. This is another example of break-even analysis. And this was a question in the chapter, so I probably should have had that going. I think this is Lombardi. Is this one? Yeah, Lombardi. Okay, and a lot of it is here worked out for you already. So try to keep your focus in this little part here. So it says Lombardi company has a unit selling price of $400 per whatever they're selling. The variable cost is $240. Fixed cost $180,000. You want to find the break-even point in units, a mathematical equation, and a contribution margin per unit. Now, certainly they do a nice little version of it here. You know, oh well, here's the answers, kind of a thing. But we want a model, okay? Which is what a model is what you'll be doing in your if you ever work on an acquisition team or you ever work on a modeling team, that's it's not going to be 3 lines. Now your summary could be this, but you've got to we want to show you the work behind getting to these answers. There's the formula here: CLs is variable cost plus fixed cost plus net income, and then fixed cost divided by the contribution margin per unit is the break-even point in units. And again, I don't have per unit per dollars. I can go through the models and we can explain it as we go along. That's how my approach is that. And I like to think that's a better approach. So a comprehensive approach. So yeah, we have the formulas here. We just read these off. We just read this off. So we're getting the equation and the contribution margin. Now, for better or worse, the answer's here, but let's get to that answer. So what do you have is, or what you do have is a $400 per unit. So it's 400Q. The variable cost is 240. Fixed is 180. And you want break even, so net income should be 0 for break even. So what you have is you have sales, variable cost. You have all the equations that characterize this situation on the right there. What the total cost number is when you combine the 180 and the 240. Okay, and what you want to do is once you have the equations all in numerical form, $400 per unit to sell, 240 for variable cost, 180 fixed cost. Once you have this all, then you start combining all the variables. So 400 minus 240 is 160. Take 180, divide that. So this is equal to, you could type it in without the comma, right? Divided by 160, or you could delta 400 minus 240 is 160, right? You have your units that we just determined, right? That's what this, and the way that this is written very mathematical. X-axis, y, x coordinate, y coordinate, right? So the Q is 1,125, and then we want to determine the sales dollars. Well, the sales dollars is simply the product of equals product of $400 per unit, and then times that other piece, times the Q, the break-even Q, which is 1,125. So it's 1,125 times 400. Break-even point, sales equals total cost. Okay, and then also when you look at this, the profit area is beyond 1,125 units, and the loss, the accounting loss area is below that. So if you're selling 800 or 900 units, you're in the loss area. So we're characterizing the regions, the regime regions, the regime where it's profitable, the regime where it's losses. Okay. And as we've spoken about in class, if our break even is in the thousands, so I think, you see where it says units sold? I think the smart thing to do here would be I mean, you can type them in, but you have to start at 0, right? And you just go by 200. So equals this thing plus 200. Right, you're at 200 here, and then down. Okay. I went one line too many here. We don't need 2200. Okay, so that's just 0 to, and whoa, no, actually, no, we do need that, because I'll tell you why. Because what we're going to do is we're going to insert, so you want to 0 to 2000, which is fine. What we're going to do is we're going to insert, let's say equals that. Okay. And we bold this thing out and highlight it. Obviously, that's the break even, what we're after. So whoops. Bold. Bold. Okay. So that's an important. Now, revenues per unit, because you have so much formula here. And again, this is all typed in, and we're just sort of explaining it. It's 400Q is the formula for revenue. So this is equal to product. The smarter way was to have these things designated in previous parts of the model. That's the smart way to do it, but we didn't do it that way. See, we're just going to take 400 times the number of units sold. Well, we're doing it in Excel. Okay. Alt-HV formula and clear out your formatting. And now it's your 450, and you want to check that. Yeah, we have 450 sales dollars. Okay, so when you sell 1,125 boilers, 100,000, 125 heating and ventilating systems or generators or anything like that, anything you're putting on your house or something, you're going to generate 450,000 in revenue. We didn't do see what says the variable cost per unit. This is the 240. We didn't create a column for the revenue number. We could have, and see, then we could have just related this 400 to that column, which we didn't do that. And now once we have 240, we can just make the whole model that 240. Okay. That's variable. So the total variable cost will be equal to product. The 240 times units sold. And you don't have to worry about anchoring anything because you have the cost per unit, and then you have the whole units on the left that all add up, or all align is the better word. See, we're clearing out the fill. Don't leave the gray highlights in there. Don't do that. Okay, 48, 480. Okay. Total fixed cost. Okay, that's your total fixed cost. Fixed cost per unit is just the ratio of the fixed cost divided by the quantity here, right? Like that. Okay, and we've been talking about this in other, other lectures, right? Total cost divided by units, and you can't divide by 0. So, and obviously this gets smaller because you're dividing by more and more units that are being sold. And then sort of what we're trying to do here is you're trying to take total variable cost plus total fixed cost. Okay, we're going to clear this guy out. All right, and what are we looking at here? We were looking at the costs and the revenues are equal, so that's obviously that's your break even. But there's something else you want to do, and again, I try to focus. There's no, I mean, look, if you go to work for a large accounting firm or even a large investment bank, you're going to have separate accounting functions and departments and everything's all separated out, which is fine. But when you work for a small, nimble team like I do, it pays to have economic knowledge, accounting knowledge, finance knowledge, legal contracts, legal knowledge, all those kinds of things. Okay, that all pays to have all that. So we're going to do accounting profit and loss column here. Now we're going to work that out. How this would work is you're going to say equals the difference between the money that comes in and then the total cost. Now that's going to be negative. The first one's going to be negative. We're going to copy that formula. We'll drop it into the cells below. We'll clear them out. And you can see we're still, the parenthesis means you're negative. Because now, again, this is accounting format. Okay, for the people, I know one of my classes, they're a little younger, the 102 section. When you have the parenthesis around the accounting number, it means it's a negative, it's a loss. And we still have losses here, for better or worse, until you get here. Let's get to the 1,000. It's still negative. Let's get to the 1,225 unit sale D. Now it's 0. You've broken even. So you want your profit and loss to be 0 there. And then once you get past the 1,000 and 125, once you're at 1,200 to 1,400, those, look at what happens. See, now you're all in profitable territory. As we said previously, Control D. As you said previously, right, 108,000, 140,000 profit. So you have accounting profit here. All right, so we added that. All right. So what did this ask for? Mathematical equation we did. Now contribution per margin per unit. Let's work on that. Also, we want to make a nice graph of this, and we could reuse something. But here, it's a fresh video. Let's create this with these 4 curves on there. So the mathematical equations we have. Okay, to compute rate. That's all. That's that answer. The contribution margin would be what do they want per unit? Okay, contribution margin per unit. Where is that? Did I not answer that? Yeah, we've got the break even. Yeah, because you have to cover. You have to cover your fixed costs. If the fixed costs are 180,000, right here. I mean, it's the 160 is really what that is. That's that 160. That's after you've covered your variable costs. That's what's left to cover the fixed costs. Like I said, this is the model. I mean, it's all in here. So, but someone says a specific, what is it per unit? Kind of a thing. You say, well, it's 160. You can if you want to answer it in that particular matter. Is that how the book answered it? Yeah, 160. Okay. All right, let's start putting. Now we have this somewhere up previously. I think we worked on this. Yeah, it's just this. It's just this. Well, let's do it again. Since we're here, let's just do it one more time. So let's do sales function. And sales functions. Now the nice way to sort of start this is have an X and a Y axis. So the unit sold is going to be the X axis for all your columns here. So you have sales revenue that goes from 0 to 640,000 or whatever it goes to 800,000, right? So you'll say insert chart and you'll do the markers, straight lines, scatter straight lines and markers like that. And this is Lombardi Company. So again, and right away you go to chart title, a company. Whoops, I don't want caps. I'm going to bold that out a little bit. You want to make it, again, you could, even a blue, a nice blue on something like that. Okay. Make sure you spell it right. And nice outline. You could do a nice little gray outline. Okay. That's probably the way to go. Now, here, let's get this thing off of our chart here so we can work. So now you click on these and click on that line or the curve rather. It shows units sold, X, sales revenue, Y. Now, always immediately go to this plus and go to Axis titles. You could just do both in one stroke. And this is, what's Lombardi selling here? Did they say what they're selling? Yeah, Vargo sells the video. Yeah, Lombardi, it didn't say what they're selling, so at least not that I recall. So let's say units of goods. Okay, so this is, double click there, a units goods. Okay, and you go to home, maybe make it a 9 if you want instead of a 10. The font, you could keep doing blue with the font. You don't have to, yeah, you don't have to bold that out. And this is costs US dollars. And make it a 9. Okay, like that. How about that? All right. Cost or costs. We're at 9. Okay. All right. And that's going to be your sales function. All right, is this first thing. So you click on this. You want to go to chart design, and element, legend, top. Select data, edit, sales function. Okay, here's your sales function. And we don't like these markers so big, so right click, format data series, click on the can, marker, option, make it smaller. Okay. You want to outline this thing with a mild gray, a nice mild gray. Right click, format the lines, solid, half a point, dash. Okay. Right click, grid line, solid, half. And you could leave the default, that default blue in there. You could make it gray, but you could either one. You see the blue pops up a little bit more. The gray, you want it to sort of fold into the background a bit. Okay, that was sales function. Right click, select data. You want to add. So you want to, let's do fixed costs. That's the x-axis. This is y. Okay. Yeah, with the fixed, you don't need all the dots going across. You just want the horizontal line. So you can go to the pale, the marker, option, none. And that's it. Just leave it. Sorry? And that should just be below the 200 because it's 180, just below the 200,000. You want the variable cost function next. Right click, select data, add variable cost function. And we'll look at the markers and colors. Well, the line. Let's do the line. Let's do a green with this. Make a nice green marker. Fill solid. Nice green with this thing right there. And marker option built in. Make it smaller. And you want to out. It's still gray. You want to outline your green. Outline this with a nice green right there. So you have to do all three of those. That's the variable cost function. And it's variable cost. And then last thing will be total cost. Select data, add. Okay, and again, same thing. Right click, data series, paint can, marker, built in, make it a 4. Okay. And you can even make these things smaller. I'm looking at this, maybe even a 3 might even be better for this situation. Option 3. Okay. Yeah, the 3 might even be a better choice. All right, so there you go. And with these numbers, I think I went by, if I right-clicked on format the axis, the step, I changed the step to 100, and let's put an angle in here. Display units. Here's custom angle is the next one. So it's minus 75, something like that. Okay. There's your graph. So we have all three of the curves in there. So if you look, what's graphed? This, 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 and that. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. And some yellow up there. Those are all the ones that are graphed. Oh, here it is. Yeah, this is the formula for the break-even using the contribution margin. So yeah, I put the formal answer here. Okay, it's fixed cost divided by the contribution margin, break-even in units. Okay. So the company generates $160 of contribution margin with each unit that it sells. Put a space in there. How'd that happen? I'm surprised there's not more typos, but I think I'm pretty good with all the typos. Or that there's not that many typos, right? It says it right there. So the 160 goes to pay off fixed cost. The company has to sell 1,125 units to pay off the 180,000. and fixed costs. Okay. Breaking even means, we're covering our costs and the profit is zero. But if you want to target net income that's bigger than that, bigger than zero, which most people do, most investors do, what sales level do you have to get to satisfy that? And again, we still have the same equation here: sales, variable costs, fixed costs, and target net income. This was zero for break even. Okay, this is the video store again. It's going back to the video store example. So okay, we're going back to the video example with the 500 and the 300. So it sort of moves from one example to the next. I probably should have ordered these examples, and I could have just put this right at the end of where we started this, at the beginning of this column. Word 4, whatever this is, 425, and we're here, right? 500 for variable, 300 for fixed. Okay, so we're here with this, and yeah, we're trying to figure out what sales level do you need to get that level of net income. Where do you go for that? Okay, so it's $500 per unit. This is the video camcorder now. 500 per unit to sell it, 300 variable cost, 200,000 fixed, and then tack on to that 120,000 targeted net income. Okay, so we have the same math here, and we clean it up and say 500 minus 300, 200 plus 120 is 320. So in terms of units, it's the same math. So this is equal to 320, 123, divided by 200, which would be the contribution margin. So the units are now 1,600. We just typed it out, 1,600. The sales in dollars equals, okay, so So Q sales volume in units, 500 selling price, 300 variable cost, 200,000 total fixed cost. Okay. So what we'll do with this is we'll say, okay, we're going to take the units times the 500, which is the 800,000 that comes in the door. So in other words, that's the revenue roll, and we just figured it out here on the side. So 1,600 times the 500 is 800,000. This is 480. 1,600 times 300 variable cost, 200,000 fixed, and 120 profit. So if you add all of these up, this 120 and the 480 is 600, 200 is 800,000. So the equation balances. Okay, so in other words, so what you did was you computed a quantity being sold with a target net income in mind, is what you did. Then you could use a contribution margin technique and things of that nature. So in other words, with the contribution margin technique, you're not just covering the fixed cost, you're covering the net income plus the fixed cost, which is a good microeconomic topic to look at right here. But we're just using an accounting equation or accounting example to illustrate that. Okay, so contribution margin per unit is 200. Sales are 1,600 units. This computation tells Vargo that to achieve its desired target net income of 120,000 must sell 1,600 camcorders. All right, the formula to compute the required sales in dollars for Vargo is as follows. So looking at this, it's going to be target net income plus fixed cost divided by the contribution margin ratio. And you could do this in dollars. Like I said, you're going to start going berserk with all these equations. All right, this one you took the per unit numbers. This is a percentage, and you're computing this in dollars. And okay, all that stuff. Okay, I mean that's you know, and we got to all these answers. Again, striving for net income of 120,000. What do we need to sell? What do our revenues coming in the door? What do those need to be? What costs do we have to cover? Those are all the questions you want to answer. Okay. And now we have a margin of safety question. Also, we graphic. We just created I think a very detailed graph of this. Okay. So that's that's what we did just previously, spent a few minutes working on. Now, another example would be we're going to work at the quantity of 1,400. Okay, we'll work at that quantity and see, and see where we get with that quantity. At 1,400. Now I'm trying to recall, did I designate anything there? I did not. Okay, this was Lombardi. Yeah, here's Vargo. Yeah, okay. I had said to you guys in the last video that some of these, we had some highlights here, and we were wondering, not wondering what the highlights were, but some of these, we had some points of interest here. Okay, like this one. Okay, you're at the 1,400 point there. You get your fixed cost here. You have your total cost there. Okay, so we didn't care about the per unit numbers so much. All right. So we're at this number here, and the sales line is at 700 and 620 for total cost. Yeah, 700,000, 620. Okay. So we're at that. Okay. And obviously the profit's going to be 80,000. And we're sort of 1,400, we're at 80,000. So yeah. So again, see, when you make these, when you do it graphically, you have only, so we've answered all these questions here, and we've illustrated this particular quantity point here. Okay, we've already illustrated that. What's margin of safety? It's between actual or expected sales and sales at the break-even point. Okay. It's a cushion to still, you know, to still be able to be a going concern of a company if, you know, some wild profit projection does, or, you know, wild performance projection doesn't materialize. Are you still profitable? Or, you know, how close to break even are you? Those kinds of things. So it says assuming the sales are 750,000. Okay. And what were the break even sales? The break even sales were 500,000. Okay, break even was 500. You're at 700 there. And we're at another point of interest here with the 800, right? You're there. Okay, at the 1600 unit point, what that looks like. Okay. So this is going to, so at 750, you're between there. And unfortunately, for better or worse, we don't have the 750 point, but it's probably going to be like 1500 or something like that. All right. We could jam it in there, but let's not worry about that right now. It says expected sales 750, break even 500. So if you want to call them a margin of safety in dollars, it'd be 750, 123 minus 500, 123. Okay, that's 250,000, which is there. Yeah. So again, if you're expecting, now this is really getting, you know, your performance is your performance, and you analyze where you are. To sit there and say, well, we're going to, you know, have some sort of a predictive or cushioning statements saying, oh, well, if we drop below a certain level, and you know, what's our margin? Warren Buffett would, although Warren Buffett would use these terms a lot, you know, margin of safety, margin. And again, if anybody read his biography, would be aware of that. So you have the 250,000 cushion, because, and again, as we previously said, 16. So if your break even is 5 and you're at 750, you know, you sales can go 250 before you're break even, but that's, you already knew that, though. You already knew that. Okay. Before it operates at a loss. Yeah. I want to determine a ratio of this stuff. You could say equals 250 divided by 750. You can get that 33% for whatever it's worth. Okay. So, but I don't get too excited about this stuff. Okay. It says the higher the dollars, the percentage, the greater the margin of safety. And management continuously evaluates the adequacy of the margin of safety in terms of such factors as vulnerability of the product to competitive pressures or to downturns in the economy. I was thinking of putting a fork in it at this point, but just in terms of schedules and the NFL, we have our games tomorrow, so let's just roll forward. If you need to take a break, you can take a break and just pause it. But this was going to be, I was going to do a second video with it says how the Rolling Stones make money. So I'm just going to do that right now, if you guys don't mind. Okay, so let's so again, if you take a break and then you pick it up. So yeah, so if you've come back after taking a break or the next day, it says how the Rolling Stone tours make money. I had a relative who went to medical school, but in between somehow worked at the time it was called the Meadowlands. In New Jersey now, the main arenas are the Prudential Center in Newark. Down in Camden, there's a like an I don't know if it's an amphitheater, but there's like an arena down in Camden, and then there's something else in Homedale has where the schools NJIT used to have their graduation. St. Peter's has their graduation there at the Performing Arts Center, not the Performing Arts Center. Is it the Performing? Yeah, that facility down on Homedale, that open sided. There's a roof over it, but there's no walls. That open facility down in very beautiful, right? A very beautiful facility there. So the Rolling Stones are, at the time, Meadowlands was the place that you had. The Rolling Stones would play there. Springsteen opened it 40 years ago, and the Rolling Stones were there, and all the rock and roll acts, John Scher's promotions, and maybe even Bill Graham. The Grateful Dead played there. So a lot of the musical acts of sort of my era, that's where you went to see them. And now I think it's just empty. It's just sitting. It was called the Izod Center for a while, but Newark sort of took. You can't have two of those within 5 miles or whatever it is, 5 or 6 miles of each other. Or you got to have, it's one or the other. So the stadium is in Secaucus and the arena is in Newark. And I think that makes sense. And hey, the Rolling Stones played in Newark. Bruce Springsteen's played in Newark. When we were growing up on 3rd Avenue, New York, we'd never envisioned the Rolling Stones playing in downtown Newark. We never envisioned that, even though there was some research done about 10 years ago when the Rolling Stones had their 50th anniversary tour at the Prudential Center in the late fall, early winter of 2012. And it's a decade, it's 12 years later, and they're still going, by the way. And they just put out a new record, amazingly enough. The Rolling Stones had played a Sunday afternoon show in the 60s at the Newark Symphony Hall. And so it was in the newspapers at the time. We had, even 10 years ago, we had newspapers of this show. So anyway, so these acts that perform, there's a whole economics to them coming to the stadiums. It's the Madison Square Garden and up in Syracuse and all these places. So let's analyze a show, and my cousin would have tremendous interest in this. So let's maybe Vin, if you're watching this, we can address a little of your questions about the economics of why these shows happen. I remember in high school is when MTV sort of came around, and one of the Jesuits told us that, hey, touring is I remember it like it was yesterday. It was decades ago. The Jesuit up there said, and I guess he knew some people who were performers that, you're living out of a suitcase, and there's an expense. You're moving your equipment all over the place, and that the videos coming at the time, now it's gone. Basically, there's the industry has changed so much, and almost unrecognizable, the music industry and the entertainment industry, from when I was a teenager, when I was 15 or even 25 or something like that. It's today. It's so different. It's a song at a time, and a YouTube, a Facebook performance, and everybody can publish their performances up there. So it's become and Bruce Springsteen made this comment on one of his interviews on CBS or something. He said, "There's most likely not any talent out there that the record companies don't know about." In other words, because it's just so at breakneck speed. We've been able to, just myself included, with these lectures, right? I put these lectures up all the time at just breakneck speed. We can get ourselves out there, and I'm 300 plus with the lectures, and I just keep going with them. So anyhow, this is let's examine the Stones tour. So the old Giant Stadium had about 70,000 people. I think MetLife, I don't know if it's smaller or bigger. Let's check it out. What's the MetLife? Yeah, 82. So, and it was 93 for something, but for the football games, I think it's 83. 1,000. I didn't know if it went to 100,000 or not. Renowned artist. And yeah, I think it depends if it's football, if it's an audience. I think it depends on what the act is, what's actually going on there. Let's look at this version of this. Meadowlands, Giant Stadium. Yeah, 2010 is when it opened. It says 82,000, but again, if in football you're playing on the field for football. If Taylor Swift is playing there, you can get your people. You can get seats on that field. You only need a portion of the field for a stage. You don't need the whole field. You don't need 100 yards of a stage. And there's a couple, high definition televisions. There's 4 of them. Okay, so yeah, the different bowls, the lower bowl, the mid bowl, the upper bowl, what the seats are. So yeah, so you have some capacity. I mean, I guess a little bit bigger. I knew it was 70 for the because Bon Jovi had played the Giant Stadium way back, and they said 70,000 people were there. So anyhow, the promoter guarantees the band $1 million. Okay, so for an outdoor show with 70,000 people coming to see you, there's a gross of about $2.5 million, and Mick Jagger and so on, they're guaranteed over $1 million. 20% of the gross goes to the stadium, all right, which the performance is staged. Okay, so 20% goes to the Syracuse, the Carrier Dome, or whatever it might be. And then there's about another 400,000 for expenses, ticket takers, which is it's just one night. You might just say that seems like a low number, but those folks do not work every day. Okay, so you might just be getting somebody for a night, and I think we discussed this in class. Even the stadiums that do the musical acts, it's not going to be every night. Okay, it's certainly not. So football, the home games, there's only 8 home games for the Giants. Now, MetLife Stadium has dual occupancy, so another stadium was not constructed for the Jets. And when I was a kid, the Jets played in Queens. The Jets played at the old Shea Stadium at one time. Okay, but then somehow I don't remember the year that they all started playing in the same stadium. It was not far after high school. So the Jets and Giants have been cohabitating for a good 30 years. I think it is. I don't know exactly, but I think it was because Parcells was coaching them in the 90s, and they were Giants. It could have been Parcells who brought them over too. So anyway, and with that, the Rolling Stones, they might only play, and so at this point they're not touring every year. It might feel like that, but they're not. And you might have a Rolling Stone show once every couple of years, or 2 Rolling Stones shows every couple of years. It's not the 80s again. There was a band from England called Dire Straits with Mark Knopfler, and they were a very popular rock and roll act in the mid 1980s. They played like 26 nights in a row down in Australia without a. I mean, again, they were at their prime, at their peak, and they broke up soon after touring like that. But they played. I saw the schedule here. Just to satisfy saying it. You guys probably don't even know what this is. Mark Knopfler is like an Eric Clapton, and they were just a very rock and roll band. Whoops, I spelled it wrong. They are a big rock and roll band. And let's look at history. 85 was it. Yeah, first breakup. Mark Knopfler's playing on his own now. Let's do like this. I remember driving to Thanksgiving, listening in the back of my there's Brothers Armstrong, listening to sitting in, yeah, here it is, listening sitting in the back seat of my dad's car driving to his sister's house out in Morse County, listening to this Brothers in Arms record. I remember Money for Nothing and Sting and Sultans of Swing. I remember. Yeah, this is Live Aid. But here, what I wanted to show you guys. Look at the London shows. This is the arena, and then the stadium a bit. Look at this. There's 1, 2, and without a break, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then Live Aid came in for a day. 10, 11, 12. They played 12 dates at Wembley, and that's quite a feat. And then LA, they had 1, 2, 3, 4 in LA. Radio City, which is a smaller place, and then here's Newcastle upon Tyne, which is where they're from. Paris, they had a bunch of dates. So here's London again, the Hammersmith, the Odeon at the end of '85. Here, look at Melbourne, without a breath. 1, 2. This is where the tennis happens, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 12. And then Sydney, it was a bunch. Sydney, I'm not even going to count these. You can see Perth, and then they went back. They finished up at Sydney in April '86, and then I think they really then they just had enough. But probably made for the time made a good clip of money, doing that. Like, that was entertainment, and you're not going to see somebody play 25 nights somewhere at a tennis stadium. You're not going to see that. So anyhow, so promoter sells T-shirts and memorabilia, and it says over the tour the promoters can make about $7 million, and it depends, how 7, 10, 20 million. It could it can be in the low tens of millions of dollars. Now, promoter means they get the stadium set up and arrange marketing. That's what a promoter is. They do work on all the details to get that act to Newark or San Francisco or Chicago or different places in Texas and get people to come. Okay, that's really what a promoter does. So let's look at break even numbers. So one outdoor show can have about 70,000 people walking in the door. Okay. Now, this is not the number. Okay, this is not the number, but the per ticket gross for a night could be 2.45 million. So it's just about 2 million, right? That's the one night at Prudential Center, the gross dollars, and it says it up here, 2.5. An individual. And actually, this is let's say MetLife. Yeah, MetLife. Okay, so 2.45 million is right there. So what you're going to try, and I think we all know what's coming next. What we're going to try to do is we're going to say, okay, we're going to divide the 2.5 million by the 70,000 people. Did they all pay $35? They did not. Okay, they did not. But that's, again, this was written a long time ago. Rolling Stones. And I was watching with my mother last night. We have YouTube on the what do you call? We have YouTube on the television downstairs on the Verizon system service, and this is the 2024 tickets. It says starts from $67, but I think they're about 500. I think it's about 500. But Mick Jagger was complaining about prices a decade ago, but they keep going out there, though, right? And what are they doing about it, right? What are they? They're all very wealthy, by the way. They're all worth 100 easily. They're worth, now Charlie's passed away, unfortunately, and Ron, the second guitarist here, he was not an original member. There's only 2 original guys left. So if you've seen pictures of these guys, but there's Mick Jagger, there's Keith. Now I don't know if he's found the fountain of youth or what he's done, or all of his young girlfriends or something, whatever he's done to still look that way. The guy's like 80, folks. He's about 80 years old. Look at him, right? He doesn't look old. Guys, again, I apologize. Stand by a second here. So, I don't see them dipping into their, south of France bank accounts to, to subsidize, say we're going to go out there for the fans. They're not. Okay. And if you look from 2015 onwards, they've done a lot of 2015, 16, 18, 19, those couple years up to the pandemic, they'll do that. They'll have a bunch of years of touring, and then you don't see them for a while. And in the 2000s, the early 02, 03, then 5, 6, and 7, they played a lot. So they had a big piece of years where they played a lot. And then the next time you heard them was 2012, was around 2012. But yeah, there's a picture. There's Charlie and the late Charlie Watts right there. So this is supposed to be, there's Mick Jagger. That's supposed to be the band. These two are the originals, the original guitarist, the original singer. He was the original drummer. He's passed away, and I'm amazed that Ron Wood came in the 70s, and then Bill Wyman just aged, and then some of the other guys, they had, Mick Taylor had fights with him. The second guitarist, they replaced him. Brian Jones was a founding member, and he passed away in the 60s. But this is, and actually here, what I remember is the Stones, and I'll get off this in a second. But Rolling Stones, 1981. Yeah, we'll see if there's a band picture of them. But this was supposed to be it. There they are. That's I think in Arizona. This was supposed to be the end of these guys. This is the Meadowlands. They're at the Meadowlands of that show. I don't know if there's a whole band picture, but see, there's Charlie Watts. There's the same 4 guys, and I think you're not going to see. There's the American the token live album from that tour. You're not going to see Bill Wyman because he's not in there. And then there was some kind of the bass player. I don't know. He married like a 13-year-old or something, or tried to marry a 13-year-old, something crazy like that. And I think that obviously that was too much for even the English. There's Tina Turner at the Meadowlands. Okay, but this was supposed to be it. Well, I discovered them when they look like this. But if you ask my cousins discovered them, when they were in suits and ties and short hair. And then 75, he really went bananas. 75 was like one of the was again, I think was supposed to be the big last tour, or the 1975 years. Yeah. Then they toured in 76. But and then came back. But the 81 tour, I love the 80. The 80 again. There's a point of reference for me with the 81 tour. But anyway, I'm going on about this. But yeah, the tickets are about 500. Okay, so the per unit number is about $35. And then it says the band is guaranteed 1-2 million. Okay, and then you're doing other expenses of 400,000. Okay. So what do we have left here? How did we do this? I'm sure we did something like this. We did this. We came in minus the band minus the 400,000. That you're at 850 or so. Actually, no. Actually, this is the wrong place to do this. This was just a sum of these two. Yeah, we just sum those. Okay, you got to pay that. The band's guaranteed, and then there's other expenses. Okay, so I don't. Do you call that variable? I don't think so. Right? I don't think so. That's got to come out. So what we did, I think we did the 49 is, yeah. This is going to be, and the textbook maybe discusses this a little bit. So it's about 50%, right? So what the band is guaranteed is about 50%. Or 49%. So the band is guaranteed half the gross is the band. That's before they pay their own taxes. They pay their own taxes. Okay, and what else are we doing here? And then the stadium. So 20% of the gross of the stadium. That's $490 for the stadium. So your net dollars after all of this are equal to, this comes in. That's subtracted. That's subtracted. Yeah, there's your 360. for a night. Okay, for a night. So the stadium gets the 20% of the gross. The band gets 49%. Okay. And this is relative to that. Now the 400 isn't included here. So to get 100%, you would take this divided by the 2.4. Take this divided by the 2.4. Whoops. Yeah, so 30. Yeah, there's your that's your 50%. There's your 50. Yeah, that's your 100%. Okay, so that we applied some accounting to the entertainment, which again I was sort of shocked a bit, but when I came on to work with the people I work with now down in Florida, that they did a lot of stadiums and owning teams and things of that nature. So this stuff matters, restaurants, and this kind of thing matters to those guys. Okay, so that's what this looks like. Okay. Okay, so what do you have? You have this stuff, amount of sales dollars required for the promoter to break even. Yeah, so so the book had some of these numbers here. It says what are the amount of sales dollars required for the promoter to break? So in other words, what has to come in the door? Obviously, you're in profit area here, but if you look here, you have the 1.2 million and the 400. You have those two. That's 1,600. Okay, and the margin is going to be 80%, right? Because if 20% goes to the stadium, what's left is the 80%. So what you'll do is you'll say equals, let's see how we did it here. Yeah, we took that percent. Yeah, this is just this. This is equal to 1 minus the gross to the stadium. Okay. And then you'll do to get the two, well, there's your 16, so it's going to be equal to this divided by your 80%. So this, if you want to say, hey, we sort of used the contribution margin ratio percentages. You could look that way. So in other words, that had to go out the door, right? That had to go out the door, the 1,600. So then what are you left with, right? After that. Okay, those are your fixed costs. So to cover those, that's these are considered the 400,000 and 1,200 considered, those are considered fixed costs, and then you have to have, so in terms of people coming in, let's do let's do this number, right? At the $34 a ticket, let's say equals this divided by your 35. It's no longer 70, but now you need 57,000 people to come in. And not the 70. So in terms of how many seats, and the Yankees make these computations, all those types of people make. So, but you have to sort through what the fixed cost is. You have to pay these numbers. You have to pay. So the band is guaranteed the 1.2, and you have to pay these other expenses. So this is 70, 50, 60. Yeah. So 2/3 of the dollars are already sort of accounted for, and then the rest is on its way to to profits. Okay. So what does the state? How's the stadium do? The band is guaranteed. The other expenses are now. If you don't even cut this, right? If you're below the 57, then then it's cutting into these numbers too. Then where does that money come from? Then you call it off, right? If you're below 57, so that's your sort of your cutoff number. The rest of this stuff, I just put some numbers in here, and yeah, actually I did no filter. Yeah, I did some other stuff here with the Rolling Stones numbers. But also, I did a little work on this for you guys and found some websites, and this was published, whatever, Lifestyle Music or something, and how these guys did at the 2017 shows, which I forget this tour, what tour this was. This the No Filter tour? Yeah, this was small, and I don't think they came to New York. So, but the No Filter tour was 2017. And at the time, the band members, and we're talking 7-8 years ago, they were because they're in their 80s now. The average age was 73, and it says, well, they haven't had a hit record. Well, they also didn't put out a record in a while too. So, yeah, and actually, we looked at some of and you guys might recognize some of the acts here, but it says they gross about 10 million per night. So now we're looking at these numbers. This was the I forget what tour this was. This didn't say a year, whatever the year was, but it certainly over the years that number is going to change. All right, so by 2017, they were bringing in 10 million, but again, 12 cities or 14 shows. I mean, they went to St. Louis and they went to some I don't want to say obscure, but not the San Francisco, Chicago, New York train ride. The most of the acts play. The Grateful Dead only played Chicago and later in their career, Chicago, New York, San Francisco, they weren't playing Tennessee or whatever it might be. They were, or Colorado or something. They did that stuff in the 70s. They played Cornell University in the 70s. So, yeah, and it's the average ticket price was $159. So, and yes, okay. So this came out in 2017, and then there was a list here. Edge, you guys probably know who these people. But look, Neil Diamond. That's an act from the 70s, and he did better than Kendrick Lamar, who's supposed to be I think some of these are more modern guys. But look at the acts on here. These are all older. Rolling Stones older. U2 older. Guns N' Roses. I don't even know what to say about them. I mean, when I was a teenager, they were going to be gigantic, and then they disappeared for 17 years. So I don't know. Bruno Mars. And Lady Gaga, you guys, Coldplay is I think an act from the 90s. Roger Waters also goes back quite a ways. Ed Sheeran, I don't even know who this is. Ed Sheeran, I don't even know. But Neil Diamond is an old act, and Kendrick Lamar, I think he played on the Super Bowl. So he's maybe a more, you guys are more with it. I don't even know who that is, but yeah. So, so we have a list of how people performed. Okay, the No Filter tour was 17 to 21. And they did 58 shows. Yeah, so we took some of the numbers from this, and we analyzed the No Filter tour, and you could, and actually I found some websites that had all the tour information for all the tours back to the 60s, so you could analyze this stuff going back to that time. So they were grossing. It says 7.1 current grossing. So yes, the Rolling Stones, U2 is bringing in 8 million. The Rolling Stones about 10. Okay, and while U2 sells more tickets per night, the average ticket's only $115, and the Rolling Stones charge a little more. But folks, let me tell you, when the Rolling Stones came back to life in '89, and then '94, and then '97, '98, you'd probably be hard pressed to get a ticket to go see them. But as that sort of wore on a bit, I thought the 202, 203 version of what they did was the ultimate. I thought that was the best version of the role. All they had the shows were all recorded. I think that if you look for vintage of what the best version of them performing, let me tell you, sure, you could go see them and they can probably be a pretty good show, but it's not going to be like the '81 show where he was, running around like a maniac on Mick Jagger was running around like a maniac on the stage. You got to get into a time machine to go see something like that. Okay, that you're not going to see that again. Same thing with Springsteen. They're losing their voices. Springsteen had to cancel the tour, delay it. Steven Tyler with Aerosmith, same thing. And then now the drummer with Aerosmith, he's having trouble keeping up. So the high school lifestyle just they're not Peter Pan forever. Peter Pan is Peter Pan, but not Joe Perry, or any of those guys. So anyway, but the Rolling Stones, they're hitting their market. So for the entire tour, the Rolling Stones grossed about 120 million or so for the entire tour. The 203 tour brought in 311 million, so much more 20 years ago. And that was 20 years ago. That tour, more than that tour. I thought that would be it. A couple. I didn't foresee 05, 06, 07. I didn't foresee them doing that, and then they vanished until 2012, and then this other thing happened with 2017, and all these other shows. They said, "Hey, we're still okay. Let's get out there." Right? I think that kind of thing happened. So let's get to the model here. What are we doing here? I looked up the No Filter tour on the website, and they had 58 shows. Okay, they had 58 shows. They sold 2,862,914 tickets. Okay, they brought in the gross, I suppose, about $500 million. Right, if you could believe it's that number, $500 million. And we're not talking about oil sales or anything like that. We're not talking about any of those kinds of things. All right. $500 million came in the door. And you want to do a per ticket number. Obviously, you're going to take the gross divided by the 2.8 million. That's 190. Okay. And if you want to do the per show number, you want to take the $500 million divided by, it is $500 million divided by 58 shows. You have the per ticket number, you have the per show number, and somewhere in the article it said they're making 10 million a night, somewhere in here, right? So yeah, so we did the math on that. I looked it up. I think I looked it up separately. I didn't. This was in Lifestyle Music or something, Lifestyle Magazine or whatever it was. I looked this up on the Rolling Stones website, so that's where these numbers came from. So the per show attendance, an arena, an average size arena was coming. So folks, again, let's look at their tour. There's where they played in 17. Tours 2017. Yeah, they came to MetLife and all these other things. See, yeah, you can look up most of these tours. You can look up. Yeah, here's the No Filter tour. And there was a delay, right? And this spanned about 4 years and all that. So here's where they started. Yeah, they played Lucca, Italy. They didn't play Rome or Milan or something like that. And let's see, and it took them until they didn't come to America until 2019. Okay, they played Soldier Field, but okay, they played Gillette up in Foxborough. They played the Super. But again, this was a big absence. Lincoln Field. They played MetLife. They did 2 nights at MetLife, but they hadn't been in this area in a while. From 19. Oh, probably 15, right? 15 was probably before, right? This was Latin America. Yeah, the last North American tour was brief, 2 months in 2015. The 50 and Counting tour had a number of shows. Bigger Bang was a big tour that lasted a couple years, right? But then the No Filter. And when they did play, okay, they did. Then I think they rounded back to us again, and I don't know. Okay, they did the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. They played the Cotton Bowl. Amazingly, how big is the Cotton Bowl? Cotton Bowl has a pretty good capacity. It's not just 40,000. Yeah, they barely filled the Cotton Bowl. It's got a capacity of 90,000, and they did 40. That's maybe it was arranged, it was arranged to show that it's sold out like that. But see there, yeah, there's the number, 456, 799. Okay, so I didn't get that number from there. I got it from somewhere else. But okay. So again, 58 shows, how many tickets that they sold, and you can see that the average numbers per night was about 50,000 or so. Then it says it's the highest average number on the band's catalog. Well, okay, if they say so. All right. And then we took the same model now. We have the same model that we're going to look at again. Okay, so the number of units, I could have just had it equal, but we'll do number of units. This thing, $500,000. And here, let's pull off the formula. Just the same. What was this formula? Yeah, this is you're just dividing the both of these. You want to get the per ticket number. 190 now. Okay, as opposed to whatever this one was. 35 was this one. Yeah, from the book, I don't think they even spoke about how the what tour that was. I don't even think that was because I think I looked through and said, hey, wait a second, I got 190 and it was 35. So I don't think it's this again. This is just another example. Okay, but this is using the same. This is using the same model. This is just using the same model that we previously. And actually, and also what we could probably do here, I can just do this instead of just rehashing all those formulas. I can just come up here. Or actually, no. This is yeah. We use the percentages now. We use the percentages here. This thing is So guaranteed to the band equals it's that times the 546, right? What was guaranteed to the band, and then we had the same ratio here. This thing was we estimated, which is other expenses. We did equals the 58 here times 400,000 to get that 23 million. But that's across the whole tour. Okay. So our fixed cost here the stadium, the gross, right? If it's 20% of that gross, what are we doing, right? This is going to be equal to that 20% times the gross dollars. So you have your fixed numbers. You got what the stadium is supposed to get. Okay, and then your net, you're netting out your dollars here, your net dollars. This is going to be what, equal to what minus what? Yeah, this is the same. There's your gross minus this, minus this, minus this. All right, there's your 86,000. That's 60, and then there's your other 40, 20 and 20, your other 40 that gave you 100,000. Okay. So here, let's review how we analyze this. So this was this version here, 51, 38, 86. Yeah, this was the whole tour. Yeah, this was per show. Yeah, this was all just, these are all per show numbers. Um, Here, what if I did this equals this thing divided by, yeah, that comes out to half of it, but yeah, we'll see what happened with this 58 show. That should have been the same number, but that's okay. We're not gonna worry about that right now. So yeah, okay. So that's how many seats we're talking about, or how many tickets that were sold, the per unit number, the gross dollars. Okay, with the band was guaranteed, that kind of those types of numbers. So we did 60 there. What was it up here? Yeah, 50. So the fixed costs were the 327 million, the 23 million, you got the 351. The ratio is 80% in this particular situation. What was it up here? A margin before, right? Yeah, I just used 80% again. You see, so I sort of and yeah, again, this type of analysis, there's no, it's just you and your analysis is really what it is. That's about what this is. So yeah, the gross to this is the same formula for the stadium. This is equal 1 minus that 20%. There's your 80, and then you'll say equals 351 divided by 80, and there's your 438. Yeah, this is the whole tour. So in other words, if you divided this by whatever is 200,000 or something, all right, it would tell you, $200. It would tell you how many seats you need to have to make this to have your show. Yeah, you have 2 million. Three pushes you over, right? But the 2 million, this is break even sales. Okay. But yeah, and like I said, I wanted a separate video for this, and I didn't do it, but I wanted a separate video for this one. And now we have a third little section here. So I want to go over a couple of these cases and with Vargo, and then this one says in chapter. You know what we're gonna do? We'll do it like this, because this is crazy to keep rolling, trying to roll through this. There you go, like that. We revisited a couple cases here. So, but yeah, so that's your break even ticket. So if you sell more than 2.3 million, then you're making money, that kind of a thing. Like in the movie business, that's something else. With the movie, I never really looked at the movie business until I worked with the people I worked with down in Florida, and they have an interest in the movies and cinema and things of that nature. And there's not many movies, but there's movies where the budget might be 25 million and it brings in 15 million at the box office or something like that. Now there's DVD sales and there's other ways to recover those costs, but then there's movies that took. There's a couple stories where movies took $1 million to make a movie, and at the box office at 100 million or something. There's some movies, Titanic, whatever that cost. Let's look at the Titanic numbers. Funny enough, I don't think I ever saw this film. Yeah, there's a lot of Titanic films. Look at this. These are all the movies about the Titanic. How about that? Yeah, this is the James Cameron one. This took 200 million to make and made 2,264 million. It made 10 times the money. And some of them are outrageous, like some of the Lord of the Rings ones, and the like Star Wars, like the first Star Wars. Here, Star Wars in '77. Look at that, 11 million to make. The box office was almost $1 billion. That's outrageous. That's outrageous. 70 times, more than 70 times. And this, but again, this has been running for 40 years. I remember this. This was the original movie poster a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. This was what it originally looked like. It was a different time back then. So there you go. So there are entertainment accounting here for the people who care about this stuff. So there's gross dollars, and you got to just keep track of who gets what. Who has to be guaranteed what. So guarantees to the band and operating your stadium, those are considered fixed. Those are considered your fixed costs. This yellow thing is the fixed cost. Okay. And for the stadium to get theirs, the stadium won't run it if they're not going to cover this 20%. The stadium won't run it. Okay, so it doesn't matter what this is. This is who they'll keep the doors locked. That, and I remember hearing those stories. Okay, change in the business environment is next, and we're continuing our original video camcorder example here. It says when oil prices rose, the break-even point for airline companies such as American rose dramatically. Lower prices for imported steel, the demand for domestic steel dropped significantly. Business conditions can change, and management has to respond to that. Okay, so cost volume profit analysis can help. And we're going to look at 3 independent situations relative to our initial example, the camcorder sales example. And now look at this. It's very similar form. So we're just going to repeat some things here. $500 unit selling cost, $300 variable cost, $200,000 fixed cost, break-even sales. So we've previously computed 500,000 and 1,000 units. Okay, those are important statistics. So the break-even point, this is how you compute the break-even point. So in the first case, so this is something called sensitivity analysis. How sensitive are your profits to changes? If in other words, you can't sell 500, you can't sell it at $500 a unit anymore. It's going to be less. How are you impacted by that? Now, to sit there and say, I'm a model recomputing. I like to recompute the model with changes, but there's a segment of the world out there that says, sensitivity analysis will make a little change here. We'll see how it's impacted on net income. But I've never dealt with a model that's so big that I can't just rerun it, which is what I generally do. But a 10% discount means instead of $500 per unit, it's going to be $450. That's a 10% discount. Variable costs aren't going to be changed. So the margin now is $150, no longer $200. All right, so equals 450 minus your 300. This is going to be, yeah. So in terms of units, we're going to say equals fixed divided by 150. So to cover I need to sell 1,033 units to cover my fixed at the reduced price. And again, this obsession with percentages here. I need to go 33% more of all this stuff. Oops. I have to sell more because I'm getting less per unit. So 333 unit increase right here to break even. Okay, so in other words, so again, you make your now again, these are very good assessments. Managers say, how likely are we to sell more volume at a lower price? How likely are we to do that? What's next here is foreign competition. There's new robotic equipment that lowers direct labor. So the total fixed cost will increase by 30%. The variable cost will decrease by 30%. Okay, so you have an increase in fixed and a decrease in variable is what you did. So if you had 200,000 fixed, it's 30% higher. So it's another 60, another 60,000. Actually, the formulas are here without us typing them in. So it's 1 plus 30% times your 200,000. And this is going to be the variable, instead of 300, the variable is 1 minus 30%, right? 1 times 3, that's how you get your 210. These should have been bordered like that. I should have made a little border around these things. Okay, so our new break even, how are we going to get to our new break even here? Is down here. And this is going to be, this is simply going to be, right, the 500. And you're doing this all in other words, these are all done, these cases, they're not cumulative. So the change, it's only the change for this particular case that we're going to care about. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to take 500 minus the 210. So in other words, so equals parenthesis 500 minus this variable here, which is the 210, divided by 260. This is Y 728. There's your 897. Okay, so your variable goes down, your fixed goes up, but also your break even is 897. Right, so that's about 10% to do. So in other words, you increase fixed cost, decrease variable, and you have a lower break even by about 10%. That's what that means. Because this is like 900 versus 1,000. So that 100 divided by 1,000 is 10%. Okay, and the third sensitivity case here. And what we'll do with this, right there. We'll review this next time. And then you have your comprehensive and all that. Okay. The Rolling Stones thing is gone. All right, look at that. Okay, here's our cases that we're looking at now. So that was the second one. The third one, it says the supplier of raw materials is announced a price increase. The higher cost is expected to increase the variable cost of camcorders by $25. there's a cost-cutting program that'll cut some of the fixed cost, and the company's realizing 80,000 on sales on 1,400 camcorders. How do you maintain that same level of income? Okay, so what with the changes that are outlined in case 3. So yeah, variable cost is 325 now. Fixed costs are reduced by 17,500 to 182. The margins changed. Okay, the margins changed. It's no longer 200, it's 175. Okay, it's no longer 200, that's 175. The margins changed. And yeah, this is just I just threw all the math in there is what I did. We just did this. Okay, it says target. So you want to maintain a net income of 80,000. You also want, you're also going to have a fixed cost of 182, and your margins 175. Yeah, this was just the numbers. So this was just equal 182 500 plus. There you go. Okay. So more, right? More with this. Because what happened here? That's a pretty hefty net income. Even though fixed reduced, but the variable so and the moral to the story is the variable increases, or it makes you have to sell more to achieve your target net income. That's the idea of that. Okay. And now we can look at this at the statement here. It says we prepared a simple cost, volume, profit, income statement. When companies prepare these, they provide more detail about the variable and fixed cost items. And looking at this, we have sort of pieces here. Now you have cost of goods sold, selling expenses, but they're broken up, and you'll never see this in financial statements, but you'll see it in managerial accounting, but you're not going to see it in financial statements where it's broken up into variable and fixed like this. Okay, equals sum. Okay. So you have a fixing and variable piece of this. You're selling, this is at the end of June, for the month at the end of June, you're selling at 1,600 with this particular one is our sort of examination point here. And yeah, and we're going to pick the next video, because this is going to be the same thing. We're going to pick, we'll pick up one more of these next time, because this is actually pretty long. Yeah, we'll save that and then we'll just finish this one off. So now we're at the 1,600 point here. So what are we looking at? You're selling at 500 units, variable 300. And these, what you have here, this is just simply Right, there's your 480. This is the product of the 16 and the 5. Okay. And this is subtraction of those. There you go. There's your margin. And again, so the nuance in this particular problem is the variable costs now are split. Okay, and we'll do the same thing with the fixed. Okay. Okay, so you have a contribution margin of 320. This is what's left to cover this. So certainly looking at this, you're going to have, oops, yeah, you're going to have 800. There it is. 120 net income. But again, breaking up the pieces as we've discussed here, we're breaking those up. So in terms of the numbers here, right, we're trying to make 120. So this is going to be equal to 320 divided by 200, right? And this will equal to 500 times that unit. That's how you get your, right? This is the same thing. Sales, it's just the Q times the sales revenue per unit. And this is all the same stuff. Fixed cost, target net income. Okay. It says sales dollars required to achieve the target income are found by multiplying the units sold by the selling price. We did that. And then this is just the sort of the proof of the mathematical equation. You take your units times all your costs and you add your fixed costs in there plus your target income. It should balance at 800,000, which it does. Okay, this is just putting it into an income statement, but breaking it up into pieces. Like I said, folks, review the Rolling Stone stuff, and that's all good material. Okay, so what we'll do, I don't know, maybe tomorrow morning or something, when we wake up or something like that, we'll have margin of safety, and we'll do another one of these again a little more extensively, and then we'll hit this. It says BT Hernandez, which will be a long, complicated, and just that'll be another review of what we did in the chapter. Okay. All right, folks. I'll be posting a sort of a list of things for you guys to do in the first 6 weeks of the course. So just realize that. Okay, and we'll get on with other things as we get along here. All right, folks. Thank you.